we got some other subclasses and that were revised, and one of them is the Genie Warlock. Uh, this this feels fantastic. I don't know necessarily all the mechanics that have changed in it, but you definitely get that genie flavor at this point. It's so much to the point of that you can actually jump into the vessel and be in essentially your own demi-plane.
Yes. Yeah. So the Noble Genie, which is what this subclass was called originally, it also received solid satisfaction scores. And in fact, all of these subclasses that we have returned to received solid scores to begin with. Because just a behind the curtain sort of thing, if we are doing more work on something, it's because fans let us know we like this thing and we want to see more. So when we do a revision, I think sometimes people think, oh, does this mean the first one was bad? No, it actually means people liked it, but there were a lot of questions or concerns, desires for us to explore different directions. And that's what happened with the Noble Genie. There was a lot of interest in the first version of it, but there was some friction about certain of the original features. In the original version of the Genie used their abilities largely to enhance a companion. And what we found is that that little bit of storytelling wasn't clicking for people for this subclass. And I think it was a combination of things. I think some people just didn't see how that connection to your companion was related to you having a genie patron. And I also think some of our play testers who are used to playing warlocks aren't really signing up when they play a warlock to help other people.
Right.
Because
Can confirm.
Because that was not a surprise to us, because we know after doing years of public play testing that when people sign up to play a particular class, there is a mood and a style of play they're signing up for. For example, when people sign up to play a cleric, even if they're not going to focus on healing, usually a part of their desire to play a cleric is a desire to help other people. That might be to heal them, that might be to buff them, to defend them. Interactivity with your companions is a big part of being a cleric. That is not a core part of being a warlock. And so we have found anytime we go too far in that direction in a class like the warlock, people who really love warlocks often will raise a flag and be like, okay, that's a bit much. We'd be playing a cleric or a paladin or even a druid or a bard if this was the kind of play experience we wanted. We also got feedback about the Noble Genie that people would love to see more of D&D's genie types reflected in the subclass. People looked at the Noble Genie and wondered, why isn't there something here that speaks specifically to, the Tao, the Genie, the Afridi, the Marids? Could we get something in the subclass that is specific to each of those kinds of Genie? So we took that feedback and we said, we can definitely do that. And so in this new version of the Genie, your spell list, your expanded spell list, is determined by the kind of genie your patron is. So if your patron is a Marid, you're going to have different spells on your expanded spell list than a warlock whose patron is a Tao. And I think people already are really liking this direction, and which makes sense because it's basically what the community said they wanted. And we had fun doing it. We always enjoy it when we have an excuse to delve into the fun details of the D&D multiverse. We also wanted to definitely keep the Genies Vessels, since Genies having a lamp or an urn or a ring or some kind of object associated with them is such a big part of the folklore. We wanted to keep that, but there wasn't a lot of satisfaction about using that as a tool, again, to enhance a companion or to banish people. And so I brought up in one of our meetings, well, why not you just pop into the bottle yourself? and I do admit, I was thinking of I Dream of Genie here.
Yeah.
Because I grew up watching that show. And mostly, I always remembered how just luxurious the inside of her bottle was. And I thought, how cool would it be if, as a warlock, you had your, basically portable little relaxation pad. And then eventually, you're even able to bring your friends in there and have speedy short rests. And so we were able to turn that not only into a fun place where you can chill out, but also it is the way we designed it. We designed it so that the warlock and their group can get into all sorts of shenanigans, because since the warlock can put themselves into their bottle, well, then that like bottle could be given to somebody and maybe placed on a shelf, and then the warlock can listen in, so it has spying uses, infiltration uses. I think it could end up being tons of fun in a campaign.
I'm sensing a theme with you recently of being able to mail yourself places, because you can mail this bottle, right?
I think that is an especially powerful theme in a time of quarantine. The desire to be able to go somewhere else.
It certainly resonates more than it normally would.
Yes.
And have a nice chill out pad. It is like an uber tiny hut. But yeah, I also have very similar memories because everything was in syndication, and I Dream of Genie was very big amongst that syndication. Stuff like that, and Bewitched and everything else.
Oh, Bewitched was one of my favorite shows as a kid. And so thinking of Bewitched and I Dream of Genie with their wish-like magic. I mean, because really, Genie and Samantha could do virtually anything with their magic. That connects back to the Genie patron, because another thing fans rightly pointed out about the previous version is, where's Wish? So this time we made sure to put Wish onto this Warlock's expanded spell list. And then their capstone class feature is now Limited Wish, where they get to essentially wish for any spell effect they want up to 6th level, and their patron will, give it to them. And then we've put in a variable refresh on that, where once you do it, you'll have to wait for an indeterminate number of days for this to come back. We have this kind of multi-day refresh already in the game, actually in the cleric, in their divine intervention feature. And that was sort of the inspiration here. We're going to give you this unusually powerful feature, but once you use it, you'll have to wait a little while, a little longer than normal, for your ability to recharge, so that you can send out another wish to your patron. Well, I imagine might eventually get very cranky with this warlock who's always wishing for things.
I like that it kind of bridges a little bit of that gap between the divine and whoever you've made a pact with. And this, like you said, your god's probably not going to get annoyed with you, or may not even be aware of it. But the one you made a pact with may start getting a little testy if you keep on abusing this particular power. I was very excited to see Wish included, and also a limited Wish, which actually reminds me of the old school days. It's a fantastic redesign.